This is Hollywood. Matías Bombal with you. Sony Pictures Classics brings to the screen director James Kent's refined and elegant production, Testament of Youth. The story chronicles three men of the lost generation as seen through the eyes of the woman that loved each of them in her own way, a lover, a brother, and a would-be suitor. Set before the outset of the Great War, in the graceful remaining moments of the Edwardian Age in England, we encounter the real-life personage Vera Brittain, played by Alicia Vikander. The real Miss Brittain, who lived between 1893 and 1970, was an English writer, pacifist, and considered a feminist before that term was even in use. She penned many books beginning in 1923, Testament of Youth, published in 1933, in which she recalled her very own personal experience of war, was a bestseller. The memoir has been realized once before. For the small screen, the BBC adapted the story in 1979 for television with Cheryl Campbell in the role of the author. Miss Vikander, who earlier this year offered a fantastic performance as the robot in Ex Machina, gives us a sensitive and empowering picture of a woman rising above the era of suffrage to desire an Oxford education. Her father and mother have purchased a grand piano for her, something that her brother wanted more than she. Vera's upset, hoping those funds might have been used for her own higher education. In a fit of pique, she throws much of her writings out the window and, as we see here, marches downstairs to the family.
I've thrown my work out. You can take it to your paper factory and pulp it for all I care.
Now stop it. I'm simply concerned that you're turning yourself into a blue stocking. That's no way to find a husband.
I don't want a husband. How many times do I have to spell it out? I'm sorry you didn't have a daughter whose sole purpose in life is to hitch herself to a man. But there it is. I'm not getting married. Not now. Not ever.
Well, that's clear then.
Kit Harington there, just entering as Roland Layton. He is also eager to become a writer and encounters a page of her prose on the lawn and pockets it, a little souvenir. He encourages her to continue her writing endeavors, and after some time her father gives in, and she's allowed to try for admission to the famous school. Slowly, world events lead to conflict, beginning with the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria on June 28th of 1914. She has a deep bond with her brother Edward, played by the strapping and talented Taron Egerton, who you may have seen as the young English lad in Kingsman, The Secret Service, in the early part of this year. Their closeness is one of this picture's most beautiful aspects, and here he confides in her of his plans.
I need your help.
Tell me.
I've been talking to Father about signing up.
Already?
This is what we trained for. I'm an officer cadet. Father was his usual calm self. Said he'd rather put a gun to his head than let me go.
It's all happening so fast.
There are boys from the town who signed up already. How will it look if I'm not among them?
I'll talk to him. Calmly. I promise.
What was making you so cheerful?
I'm not. I don't think Roland will go.
Don't go losing your head over him.
Why not?
Taron Egerton has been excellent in everything in which I have seen him, and I have high hopes for his career. A romance blossoms between Vera and Roland, but is dashed with all men beginning to enter the military as war is declared. As her beloved brother is about to leave in uniform, she gets news of the results of her school application.
I know what it's going to say.
Shall I? You got in. But it says you need to work on your Latin. You better tell Roland.
Do you think?
Go on.
On arrival to the fabled center of learning, she confides with the mistress, Miss Lorimer, played by Miranda Richardson, looking great in a return to the screen, that with the boys away, she must leave school after her great accomplishment of admission to become a nurse. She breaks the news to her parents, played by Dominic West and Emily Watson.
My mind's made up.
France? That's the front. It's so dangerous.
I'll be behind the lines. It's as close to Edward as I can get. I need to be there.
Well, I've been gathering you some things, and I suppose you can take them to France, too. It's a cook's cloth jar. And, cream. Stop those hands from getting chapped. And don't forget your poor elbows. It's easily done. And, some roses for your hair.
Why was I ever disappointed you weren't a boy?
The reality and horror of war changes her forever as she longs for Roland and is worried about her brother. She's compelled to be doing something of real value with her nursing. As you might expect, fate brings Roland and Edward back to Vera at unexpected moments. A tip of the hat is offered to David O. Selznick's Gone with the Wind, as may be seen in one scene where Vera is assigned to a battleground hospital close to the enemy lines. She leaves her charges and wanders out for the first time amid a sea of wounded men on the ground as the camera moves upward, showing the vastness of them on every flat surface, not unlike Scarlett O'Hara outside the Atlanta train station in the 1939 Technicolor classic. How marvelous to have a movie that takes its time to develop characters initially in a lovely setting and later the dramatic and frightful aspects of the First World War. Great, too, that in our protagonist we have a real person, and that this, in essence, is a true story in memoir form. There's something to be said of the production value of period films made in England. You'll not find any fault in the costumes, the setting, or props that would distract you from the story. It all looks real, lived in, and takes you to another time and place. When movies are produced at that level, I find that I like them the most, and I think you will too. I enjoyed both Miss Vikander and Mr. Egerton the most in the picture, and Miranda Richardson's few moments were memorable. Emily Watson is consistently good, and unfortunately, Mr. Harrington, I think, is less than ideal in his role, but that may be the fault of the adaptation for this screenplay as written by Juliet Tohidi, which makes him seem less engaged. If you're going to see anything this week, see this one. It's beautifully made and photographed by Rob Hardy, who also shot Ex Machina with Miss Vikander. This is evocative of a remarkable and sad period in history that is spoken of less and less with the passing years. They are gone, but let's not have them be forgotten. The intrepid Vera Brittain wouldn't have it. The Motion Picture Association of America has given this a PG-13 rating. This is your pal, Matías Bombal, bidding you a fond farewell.